Falsha.
Come on a ho, Davie. Come on a ho.
How you doing, Peter?
I'm all right. Why are you speaking Gaelic?
Why are you speaking Gaelic?
Well, I thought, by the way, just before I say this, thank you to absolutely everybody that voted for us at the Trad Awards last night. Unfortunately, we didn't win. But we're introducing Gaelic to the show because I think we have to cover every base here, Davie, because last year I got beat as well. I was a runner. Oh, no, that was Tim Eady, though. I don't think he can speak Gaelic right now.
No.
Not sure.
I think he struggles with Scots, doesn't he?
But it'll not do us any harm to include a bit of Gaelic here and see if we can. But big, huge thanks, folks. The Trads was last night, and we had so much encouragement and support for so many folk at home. It's been absolutely brilliant. So I'm trying to keep up with comments here already. They're going absolutely bonkers, Davie. Speak to all these people everywhere.
It's the level of audience and the level of guests we've got on tonight is just bringing Abdi in. Oh, here's Ali Meek.
Yeah. There's Paul, somebody asking for Captain. Paul, I'm sorry, this isn't actually kind of like a request show, this one. This is just a set show that we interview a person in that, but you're going to hear some great music, don't you worry.
Oh,
don't worry
fantastic.
about that. And there's Martin McLeod. And
There's Martin. Of course, Martin knows more Gaelic than we do.
Martin knows more Gaelic than we do, and he knows Fred, our guest tonight as well, Fred Morrison, because they played in Capercaillie at one point in time in the early days.
Mm-hmm. So
there we go. So I'm looking forward to this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Loads of people here. There's Vivian in Australia. We're going out live tonight, as usual, on about 5 Facebook pages tonight. We're on Tunes in the House, Music from Scotland, Tartan Tunes. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. So if you want to get it up on the big screen, you go for that. There's lots out there. Oh, there's Hugh Mackay. Hello, Hugh. How are you doing, sir? Good to see all these folk joining us tonight. Please share the show about. It would be fantastic if you could, and we're going to have a cracker tonight. And do you know something, Davey? I was thinking about it. We didn't win the award last night, right?
Yeah.
But you know something? We get an award every single week with all these good people that join us show. We don't need an award. We get an award every week. It's just lovely to have all these folk here with us every week, which is magic. Please share about, folks. We wonder if you could let us know where you are. It's always fantastic to know where you are, and take it from there. I've recorded a couple of wee tunes just as a wee warm up for our act tonight. Davey, can you tell them a wee bit about the tunes, because you wrote both of these?
I did, yeah. So the first one is written is called
Rotten.
Fred Morrison.
Rotten.
You played it.
It's all right.
It's wee 6/8 march called Fred Morrison of Bishopton. I've no idea who Fred Morrison is, but it's a nice tune anyway. And the second one is called Tay Park House, and that's where myself and my lovely wife got married back in July.
So this is a couple of 6/8s, and just once again, thank you on behalf of Davey, Karen, and myself for all your votes for the trads. That was fantastic of you, and I can't keep up with the comments here, Davey. It's going nuts.
See, now you know how I feel.
Yeah, there we go. There's Derek in Barbados. Oh, he'll be Craig Muirhead will be heading over that way. I think Craig's heading the other day. So, and Craig won last night. That's another thing. Huge congratulations to every guest we've had on this show that picked up prizes last night. Well done, all of you. It's fantastic. Iona Fife, Musician of the Year.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well done. And awful nice to see Craig getting the Tutor of the Year as well. That was brilliant.
It's all those beers he promised folk. That's what it is.
Oh, that's right. He said he'd buy everybody a beer, didn't he? I voted for him 4 times.
No, you did. You voted once. You can't vote 4 times.
Well, you can if you use different emails. Right. See, I'm blowing all the secrets. Right, here's this couple of 6/8s. Let's go them. Keep the comments coming in, folks, and I'll put them up while we're hearing some tunes.
Here we go.
Nice tunes, Davie. Nice tunes. Swinging away.
There was you missed a comment there. Somebody was saying that they've not seen that box before. Has your pal been up?
No, that's an old one that I found out when we were clearing out the house. We were getting insulation put in the house and I found it in the wall. So, no, that's the wee Brandoni. Nice wee box. What is that? That's a big word. What does that say?
Basically, that means, do they sound different or just how they look?
Oh, no, they do sound different, yeah. So some folk think they just sound hellish all the time. But there we go. That's life.
No comment.
I like it when I play the pipes as well because I can sneak out it. Yeah, I know it's a box I had a wee Leno, so I thought I'd get a wee shot. Anyway, enough waffling. We've got a fantastic show tonight. We've got this fantastic guest on. Hence, the viewing numbers are going through the roof here, and I can't keep up with the comments. Man alive. This is right, Davie. You know this man very, very well. So I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to keep going with comments here.
I'm going to keep this short, just so we can get on with the crack. This man has been described as the Jimi Hendrix of the bagpipes. Ooh. By that, he means he can play it with his teeth, I think.
Yeah. He was once seen eating a tenor drone somewhere. a deep fried tenor drone.
No, Stonehaven.
And batter.
No, we have the one and the only Mr. Fred Morrison.
Brilliant.
Fred, welcome to the show.
How are we doing?
We're doing good. How are you getting on?
Great. I like that deep fried tenor drone. Brilliant.
I know that. I reckon it'd catch on. See, you can sell anything to the tourists.
Very good.
Dear me.
Good to see you, though.
So, Fred,
thanks
for joining us tonight. You don't really do interviews, do you?
Hey?
You don't really do interviews, do you?
Well, I do, actually. I do. I mean, I'm happy to come on and get a bit of crack with you. It sounds good, Davie. Aye.
Well, this is a thing, Fred, with this show that is just a good bit of crack and having a bit of fun and kind of letting the folk at home get to know the musicians a wee bit rather just than seeing us sitting up on the stage all the time and that, and then getting to know where you came from and things like that. And it's good. It's good fun. So I've made sure that Davie's not going to ask any awkward, silly questions, so it's fine.
He's tried.
Yeah.
He's tried. So, Fred, tell us a bit about how you started in the piping.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, my first memory of the pipes is like lying in bed as at 2 years old or something like that, and hearing my dad play the pipes as I drifted off to sleep. That's really my first kind of memories of the pipes. And I used to really.
Can I just say, was that trying to get to sleep as he's sitting playing at the
It was such a regular thing that it just became natural. That's what you did, Mm-hmm. And I remember playing there, and the point I'm trying to make to you, Davie, is that I loved it from the word go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you're saying when you started and blah de blah. I remember we used to play the tune John McCall's March to Kilbowie Cottage a lot, and I used to love it. I mean, this is well before I learned. I used to hear that tune, think that's great, I love that, and pretty much then it was a signed deal that I was going to do it. It was very much a way of life. Because my dad and my uncles and dad's cousins and everybody, and grandparents, everybody played the pipes at that. That was very much a part of the tradition in the Uist. My dad was from South Uist, the island of South Uist, and it was very much a tradition. Do you know what I mean? Even if you weren't, even for pipers that weren't going into top solo competitions or making careers, it was something that you did, and you could go to different houses and that and share tunes and that. So it was very much the tradition, and that's how I started. And then, when I was about age of 7 or 8. I lived in Bishopton, and 5 minutes away on the train in Paisley, Norman Gillis, Pipe Major Norman Gillis of Ullapool, that's the famous piper Alistair's dad.
Rather, yeah.
was taking classes on a Saturday morning there in Paisley Grammar School, which were open to anybody. And my dad, in his wisdom, thought, well, you go along there, rather than having the father-son thing where there was any, go along there and learn from Norrie. And, and I think it was a wise move. And I really, really liked Norman Gillis and liked the way everything was fun from the word go when he taught you. There was none of this kind of drilling and it was hard and it was all crack and fun and really good, And Alistair was the same age as me. Alistair and I were exactly the same age, as was Gordon Duncan. The three of us were all the same age. Sadly, the two of them are no longer with us because we all grew up in the junior piping together. But I went along to Norrie, and then Norrie moved to Ullapool, which I was really disappointed about because I loved the lessons with Norrie. And but I continued, of course, with my dad, and my dad was very very much in the Uist Cantarach style of singing. Very, very much, very kind of expressive, leaning into big phrases and all. That was very much a Uist way of learning. Not too bookish with it, but more kind of let the music out and phrase the thing and get life and feeling into it. That was the thing. And then when I was about 11, the great piper Andy Wright moved to Bishopton, where I stayed, and he moved into a house 5 minutes walk round the corner. And he came him and my dad were good pals because
that's handy. That was handy, Fred, because that's quite a bit closer to walk than Ullapool.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it was, and especially at the age of 8 or whatever. You need to take your pieces with you,
Yeah.
But Andy moved round the corner, and he, of course, and my dad were good pals well before then. They were both kind of well into Peabrook and all that. And I went round to Andy, and he was terrific as well. And I'd say he really set me up for the junior solo piping competitions a lot. And then I drifted into all that kind of thing. But that's how I got that. That's the kind of the way I got into it all, Davie.
But it's quite interesting, Fred. I asked Davie earlier on, and he said, ask him. But you weren't really involved with the pipe band side of things still, were you? You went solo playing right through.
I never played with a pipe band in my life, and I never have, not even once.
Yeah.
But and that's a really poignant question, Peter, because most young kids do. They get involved with bands or they learn with bands. But the thing is that I really learned in the kind of South Uist tradition.
Yeah.
That's the way I learned. And like my dad was never in a pipe band, and if I could make it clear, like when I could play the pipes from the age of say 11, 12 onwards, and we'd be going up to Uist a lot. That's when I learned what they were all about. Like you would go to houses and have big piping sessions and things like people would discuss the way you learned this certain Peabrook from like the great John MacDonald or from Bob Nicol and then they would sing tunes and they would say, they would talk about great players and give us a few more tunes. And that's really what it was. That's really the way that's my piping. That's really what I thought was piping. And of course you went to the competitions, which were, there would be a few a year. It's not like they were every weekend. You would get the Scottish Pipers, St Andrews, some of the main ones like that. There was a great one in Linwood. There was, things like the St Andrews when I mentioned that. And then, of course, latterly they had the Glenfiddich Junior thing where they invited 10 players to that kind of thing. But they weren't every weekend. So the main part of my piping really was very much in that tradition, Peter. It wasn't a pipe band thing. It was like that. And like when people played tunes like you'd get my auntie would be looking out the window. She wouldn't be a piper, but she'd know the tunes and would be singing along and all that kind of thing. Great, really brilliant. I love it. And
knowing quite complex tunes as well. That was the thing, wasn't it? It wasn't just like the recognised Scotland the Brave or something like that.
Not at all.
They're going to tell you that Lady Lever Park or something. There you go. There's a 2/4, and you're like, what?
Yeah, Lady Lever Park was a very, strangely enough, you should say that was a very popular tune in Uist. Like you get Ian McLaughlin and these guys. That was one of the tunes they used to play for dances in Uist. I remember playing Macrimmon's Sweetheart, my auntie singing the words, the actual Gaelic words of the Peabrook, Macrimmon's Sweetheart, things like, they were well into it and they were steeped in it, and I don't know, it was a combination of the kind of hardship of life, the people who had like they could actually. My dad would actually tell you about relatives that were never seen again going to Canada in the second clearances, things like that their grandfather had seen going and all that, leaving boats, leaving Loch Boystel. There was that in it. There was a lot of hardship, and there was a lot of fierce crack in it too. When it came to go on and play that reel, there was none of this hanging back grace, getting through a tune and trying to win. There was none of that. That was just. That was of no interest. It was all about the way you played, and I guess that's what really pushed me and fed into the career that I followed, like playing music. Probably that's what it was. But it was great.
Quite unique in that sense as well, though, to come through as a solo player and stay a solo player. And obviously you went into bands with the folk bands and that, and you've done that side of things, and I think it just lends you to be a different. I fear you must have been fairly disciplined it's quite hard just to work away yourself sometimes, but you obviously did it, and that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I didn't really practice, to be honest. As a kid, I didn't really practice. I didn't, honestly. That's the truth. I didn't start. I would just pick up the plate. In fact, I remember a great comment going round to Andy Wright's one night. I must have been about 14, and Andy said to me, I think he got the gist of what I was like. I'd pick up the pipes and I would love it and have a right good blast. Oh, that was great. And he said to me, see, when you're playing round the corner at your own house, you're practicing. He said, you play for enjoyment, don't you? And I said, yeah. And he went, well, stop that. I was quite baffled. I was like, what do you mean? But he was quite right. He was like, well, if you're going for the competition thing, who cares? Everybody loves it. But focus on this. Try and get it right. Try and get the ball in the back of the net, kind of thing. Which I do understand, and I know what he's getting at, and all the rest of it. But it wasn't until latterly in life that I realised, I'm putting a few hours in and trying this and thinking about it. I used to just play naturally. I would say up into my early 20s. Even coming out, even going as a professional piper in the first years, even playing in the gold medals, I would just kind of learn the tunes. I mean, sometimes in a very short space of time, the set tunes cram 4 into a week at one particular year, like learning 4 in a week and going up and playing and all that kind of thing. It was
amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. But I'm just telling you as it is. It's just like that. When I think back, I think, God, my God, it would give me a nervous breakdown nowadays. It's just like but that's the way I remember it.
There's somebody remembering you and saying they saw you at Winter Storm.
Yeah, we'll stop that, awesome Fred. There's a sort of Winter Storm. Yeah. And then, of course, as a young piper, I'll just continue talking. I'll just give you a wee bit of crack about what happened, because I'll tell you this, on my 14th birthday, right? On my 14th birthday, I got two tickets for me and my dad to go and see the Tannahill Weavers playing in the city halls, right? Mm-hmm. That was in 1978, I think. It was my 14th birthday. Yeah. I think it was round about then anyway. But I was 14, and we went there in the city halls, and this was quite revolutionary for me because I hadn't heard this kind of thing before. As I say, I was brought up in the kind of youth tradition, playing tunes, which I loved. But the first introduction to folk music I had really was hearing a track of the Bothy Band. Mm-hmm. It was the Morning Star track, Brilliant. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it is. It's like it'll never. You can never better that. It's like a work of art, And I heard that, and I thought, "What the hell is that? That is unbelievable." I thought it was beautiful, and I'd never heard the Uilleann pipes before. And what a great start to hear, Paddy Keenan playing the Morning Star and the way they did, and then I remember asking my dad. I tried to get the second tune. I tried to get that in the pipes, but then I realised they had another octave. I was like, well, what's going on here? And I remember my dad was shaving at the time, shaving foam, and I said, what's gone wrong? there's notes here that, and he said, "Oh, just try and develop a second part about." I mean, but that's very much that he was,
Yeah.
Encouraging, come up with something. And of course, that's what I do all the time now, But
Yeah.
so I remember that, and I thought it was brilliant. So I started to hear more and more groups and things like that. And then I heard the Tannahill Weavers with the Highland pipes, and this was like game on for me, So we went to the city halls. The place was mobbed. Yeah. Absolutely jam-packed in the city halls in Glasgow. And Alistair MacDonald, the singer, did the warm-up, the famous singer, with the guitar. And then the Tannies came on, and they were playing with the piper Alan MacLeod.
Oh, yeah.
At the time. Now, Alan MacLeod, I didn't know him personally. I knew his dad, Norman, but he was a legend. And he's a guy that deserves an awful lot more respect and acknowledgement for what he did. The guy was so musical, and he had hands that were like incredibly. And he came on, I remember like he had kind of bike chains across the drones instead of cords, and he was with a poncho and a sombrero coming on, It was so cool. It was the coolest thing, I'm not kidding you, Davie. I was like, and my dad was very much, I would say a rule breaker, but a traditionalist. He was like, what the hell is this, And they would be singing away, and then it'd come to the fast tune, and Alan MacLeod would break into these fast reels. And then I saw something that blew my mind for the first time. There was these big, hairy, bearded guys standing up in the seats in time to Alan MacLeod, air piping. Didn't you get that thing when they do the air guitar? But these guys were air piping to Alan MacLeod. I mean, the whole thing was quite, I was like, this is incredible. It was just, and the appeal it had, and the excitement, and the different sounds, and all the rest of it. I thought, this is incredible, and then I learned that, you mentioned all these kind of things and talk about, and all these older pipers would kind of frown upon it, and they would use such derogatory terms and things like that, and really, really give it a hard time to these great musicians. And I didn't understand like who told them to, or why you do it.
And then
learned it at church or something. I don't know.
And the next day, there was not a bicycle chain to be found in Glasgow.
In Knightswood,
What we're going to do, we're going to get our first track on. And this is, apparently, from what Deirdre said to me, this is you playing at the age of about 22?
Yeah. Oh, this is in Campere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to head to Campere next week to do a concert in the theatre in Campere. They call it the Christmas concert or the Christmas recital. And it's been going, I did the first one back in 1985. And it's been on every year since then. And it's just a brilliant event that time of the year. And it's full, and it's a kind of Christmassy atmosphere, and everybody loves it. And I did the first one, and it was with Patrick Mollard from Brittany. And great piper, and pipe major Robert Matheson of the Shotts and Dyke. Yeah, Rab, as we all know, and myself and Rab travelled over from Glasgow, and we went to Campere and did the first one, and the recording you have is from that recital. That's from that recital in 1985. So I was 22.
We had Rab on the show there 2 or 3 months ago as well.
There you
it was
go.
good catching up with him. And I think, did I notice what in this video as well, that is Bob Worrell, one of the judges sitting there?
No,
this
video.
Is it
another.
There's a different one. There was one later on.
Yeah,
there's one later on. I know it's Bob Worrell and judging. And
yeah,
we've had Bob on the show as well, so it's been
There
good that we're catching up with everybody. But,
there you go.
Good.
So here we are. We're going to hear Fred in his original form playing traditional piping style.
I think it's Irish jigs and reels. I think it is it?
Yeah. Here we go. Let's listen. There we go.
That was driving along there. That was driving.
Yeah, 1985. And the thing is, of course, in those days, it was all sheepskin and cane, in the middle of winter, which is, it was never the easiest, It's, it was always kind of sensitive. Actually, that was 1985, yeah, 85.
It's amazing, isn't it, taking pipes all over the world? And we were talking last week with Emmett Conway on, it's Emmett that's pipe major of Shorts now.
Emmett, yeah.
And he was talking about when he was in New Zealand Police, when he was the pipe major there, and they were experimenting, like putting ice cubes into bags and all sorts of stuff,
Incredible.
Working the opposite way round than we were, kind of style thing. And it's
they
just,
won't wish you, we don't.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the time, like, it must have been, a few months after that, in the summer in 1986, I was going up to play at the year that actually, it was the year that I actually won the gold medal at Oban. I was going up to Oban, and I was staying at the comedian Norman MacLean's house.
yeah.
And so was my pal Angus MacColl, the famous piper, the great piper Angus MacColl. And Angus and I were good buddies back. We always used to kind of hang out there together. And Angus, I went up to Norman's, and I arrived very late. It must have arrived about 1 a.m. This is a crazy story, I went up there. I was just talking about sheepskin and cane, because I arrived there and we ended up working all night on Angus's pipes, because they were going fine, but it's just that thing with cane, like the slightest wee thing can make it not lock, and you're just trying to find it. We were at it for hours. Angus was playing in the silver medal, and but I arrived there, and we were up all night, and no sleep and all the rest of it. So I eventually crashed out on the sofa, and the next thing I remember was being woken up by Norman MacLean's very large Alsatian dog, Zar. The dog was called Zar, and it was licking my face. That's how I woke up. That's the truth. I was lying on the sofa, and I felt this. What the hell's that? And I woke up. Oh my God! I got the fright of my life. This thing was licking my face, and I was like, Norman, Angus, but they had left. Angus must have been on early. Angus must have been on early in the silver medal, and they'd left me there, And thank God the dog woke me up, because otherwise, God knows what would happen. This is the truth, He was staying in Dunbeg, which is 2 miles outside of Oban. So I just kind of, just got the kilt gear on and jumped in the car, and I arrived at the Corn Halls. It was a sunny day, and I got out, and I thought, because I knew it wouldn't be long before I was on, and I got out of the car, walked up to the Corn Halls, and they had all these kind of poshy toffee guys that were the stewards then, and their girls were gathering, and he saw me. I would need his sheet of paper with the names ticked off, and he said to me, one to go, and then yourself. 1 to go, and then yourself. And I was like, oh, right, great. And this is all for me. This is all the truth. This is verbatim. And I had the pipes in they weren't in the case. I was holding them. And I said, is there any tuning rooms? All taken, he said. 1 to go, and then yourself. And I was like, right, okay. So I got the pipes blowing up outside the Corn Halls. I was like, God, I hope these things are going, because we were at Angus's pipes. I didn't know what, but they were going fine. It seemed okay, I'm blowing away, and then playing for 2 minutes, and I got a tap on the shoulder. And I turned around, and it was the great one and only John D. Burgess. And he said, hello, Fred, how are you doing there? In his usual way, And I said, no bad, He said, I've just got a wee story to tell you. And I was thinking, well,
you make it quick.
And he said, I'll tell you this, he said, and this is the story he told me. He said to me, I remember as a young man, he said, when I was going round the games, he said, I thought I could do anything with my fingers, he said. He said, and I was up at Aberdeen, and I needed to get a lift to Glasgow, and I got a lift down on the Glasgow Police Pipe Band bus. He said, and they were passing around the pipes. He said, and then he said, eventually they gave the pipes to old John, the pipe major, John MacDonald. Shonny Rutchin, who I used to visit as a boy in South Uist, and I knew this guy. This guy could seriously play it. He said to me, "And do you know, Fred, when I got off that bus," he said, "I felt about that size." And I was like, right. he said to me, "I just wanted to tell you that." And I thought, well, thanks a million. And the next thing I knew, I was on playing the tune, and then that was the year I got the gold medal. It's just
wow.
how crazy things happen. It's the sheepskin and cane thing. When you were mentioning it, reminded me of going to, with Angus there all night. And actually, to be honest, I'll tell you this, right? Here's another one, right? I might as well tell you this, because now that we're on the subject, but it was equally kind of mental when the year that I got the gold medal at Inverness. I don't mean to sound like I'm, talking about winning this. It's not that. It's just the crack behind it, seriously.
The playing was fine, but the stories are better.
It's nothing to do with it. I'm not interested. It's just the story, the bit of crack. Now, it's just that reminded me, because round about 1987, tail end of 1987, 88, I kind of burnt out of the solo piping thing. I just stopped going out and about to the competitions. I was actually getting much more into different styles of music and things that other people that I'd heard, and other things that I wanted to develop and all that kind of thing. And I was working at it, and I just kind of got out of the solo piping for 4 years. But however, 4 years after that, it was in 1991. It took me 4 years to go back to a competition, and it had to be the gold medal at Inverness, And
easy one to start off again.
Yeah, exactly what I want to go back to. Yeah. And I'd been going to a couple of competitions, just to listen, and all. And big Angus MacDonald of the Guards, another hero of mine, used to always be getting on to me, "What the hell are you doing? Barking away at me like." So anyway, I was staying in the B&B in Inverness, and it was across the river from where the Eden Court Theatre, where they have it. So I thought, I'll just walk across and see how I feel, because I had been out of it for 4 years and I was kind of feeling on the back foot a bit. So I walked into the Eden Court Theatre in civvies, not in the kilt. And I walked by the bar as it used to be in the corner, and Big Angus was in. There was a load of people, and Big Angus was standing up at the bar, and he saw me. And he leaned over and, in typical British pipe major fashion, barked over. He saw me in civvies, and he went, "Are you playing the day?" He shouted at me. And I said, "Aye, yes." I didn't know what else to say, so I just said yes. And he actually swore at me. He said, "Well, go and get your effing kit on." And everybody in the Eden Court was looking at the two of us, looking at him and looking at me. And I went, "Okay." And I marched straight back to the B&B and got the kit on. And that was the story after that, So I always had to be thankful to Big Angus for barking at me.
Oh, dearie me.
Brilliant.
The one thing folk don't realise about you, you've went to Lorient a few times for the competition for the Macallan. What was it? Macallan, then the McCrimmon Trophy.
Yeah.
And you've won it 10 times now, haven't you?
10 times, yeah, that's right. The last time was, just before lockdown 2019. Yeah, I love that. I love, apart from the competition, I love the whole Brittany thing. I really do. I just love Brittany there, and I love all the, their whole tradition and way of being and music and all that. The first year I went over was 1983. Myself and Alan MacDonald and Gordon Duncan went over. That would be some crack, as you could quite imagine.
Yeah, kind of quiet weekend on the road.
Yeah. So Alan and Gordon, of course, were two, complete maverick, great, not just pipers, but amazing guys that are just absolutely, full of music and so much to offer the whole music world. Both of them, and they're both with their own kind of unique styles, and it was great to be around them, and you couldn't help but learn a lot and have a lot of fun and like that kind of thing. But the first year, and then we met people like myself and Gordon met Pascal Gango, who was a great friend of ours and still is a great friend of mine. And Pascal like taught us, me and Gordon, Breton music when we were over, and lots of guys, Patrick Mollard, Erwan Ropars, there was a great guy from Quimper, you know, the pipe major of the Quimper band, and loads of people like Big Hubert Rowe, George Botchwell, loads and loads of great friends. I would hate to leave anybody out. There's so many of them. But 1983 was the first year I went over, and 1983, 84, 85, 86, I was doing the Macallan, it was called then. But then in France, there was I think they weren't allowed alcohol sponsorship or something like that. So they changed the name of it to the Macrimmin. But I didn't actually go back to it until years later. There was many years I went over just as like playing with groups or bands or, you know, different bands and things like that. I went over with playing with Steve Byrne and Martin O'Neill, playing with Capercaillie, playing with the group Keolis a few times that I used to play with. Lots of bands like that. And I've often done solo concerts over there. And I usually do a great workshop before it in Plomoor for 5 days, which is it's a really great event. They have lots of Cayleys and stuff like that. But recently I started going back to the Macrimmin competition. I don't, God knows why, you know, but because it's a very, very tough ask, that competition. It goes on, you know, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till, you know, 1 in the morning, sometimes in the heat. You know, you're playing Scottish music and Irish music, Breton selections, you know, and the people, you have to playing that stuff at competition level, you know, Irish jigs and reels up to tempo. You really have to be on your toes, you know, and learning the Breton music judges. It's very much about the pulsing and for the dance. It's not as technical as you might find a March to Spray and reel, you know. Mystic Grace, they might not bother if you missed it, but the pulse of the dance and all that is very, very important. Right. And the feel of the music, even the way that the freedom of the way you might play a slow air and things like that is great, you know. So there's an awful lot to learn there, but it's a great event, you know. It is. It's a great a competition that I've always loved, and great venue that they have it in huge audience sizes and all that. It's just terrific, you know. Really. Love it. Love the whole Breton thing, and the whole Asturian and Galician thing as well. It's fantastic.
Have we got a bit of that music, David?
We do. We've got the first 6 minutes of your Peabroch from 2015, which is MacLeod of Colbeck's Lament.
Colbeck. Oh yeah.
Did you win that year, 2015?
I won the Peabroch.
You won the Peabroch, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got the first 6 minutes because they wouldn't let us do the full 15 minutes, unfortunately.
No,
the first 6. So we'll go to that and then we'll come back to you and have a bit more chat about
no bother at all.
The groups. Here we go.
Fire away.
There we go.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Sammy Young out in Australia saying, great tune.
Sammy. Actually, I remember I met Sammy. Actually, I was doing a month's tour out in Australia. That must have been about 2001 or 2002. I did a full month's tour out in Australia and New Zealand, and I met Sam out there. And Nat Russell, I remember us all being out in a great Chinese restaurant. Sam will remember that. Sammy Young will remember that. And it was great. It's great. Him and Nat, they were just incredibly hospitable and really good fun. Took you to the best places, and I owe them a favour. Over here.
There's somebody saying, great to see you.
I can't see it.
Martin McLeod.
Martin McLeod, yeah, very good. I haven't seen Martin. I hope he's doing well. You're doing well, Martin. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Martin's retired now.
Oh, is that right?
Right.
He used to have a fantastic player, fantastic musician, and we had a load of great tunes back in the day. Like a load. When Martin was like loads of great sessions, and great player.
Can I ask you one thing? See, when you're playing Highland pipes there, Fred. No, I mean, I play Highland pipes as well, but usually I'm playing accordion and teach accordion now. So it's obviously a fixed reed instrument, fixed sound. Yeah. You pick it up, you play it.
Yeah.
You're playing Highland pipes. You're playing border pipes. You're playing Uilleann pipes. Yeah. Is there one set of pipes more? I mean, I can they can all be unpredictable when it comes to tuning and temperature and all that. But is there one worse than the rest?
Well, it'd be a hard one to say. But real pipes, border pipes, are pretty stable, I would say.
Right.
And of course, we use the easy drone reeds with no moisture. So the drone thing is no issue whatsoever now. So as long as you've got a good chanter reed in the border pipes, I'd say they should be. I think the trick is not to mess with them too much with border pipes, or if you are going to really know what you're doing, it's a different reed culture to me to Highland pipes. People can be pretty heavy-handed with them and not know if you touch them in a certain way the effect. But the Highland pipes, of course, with modern moisture control systems and synthetic drone reeds, are a lot easier. Really, it's just I think
Fred, Sam Young says Rennet the Duck. Sam said that must be the name of the Chinese restaurant you were in. Rennet the Duck.
And thanks very much, Sam. And he'll remember that night. It was great fun. A lot of pipers, Sammy, Nat, all these guys. I mean, they were just terrific, and it was just that was an amazing month's tour out in Australia. It was brilliant, and as I say, everybody I met out there was just top drawer. It was just brilliant.
And tell me, sorry, stepping back to that, then the Irish pipes, the Uilleann pipes, are they quite difficult craters to look after?
Pipes, yeah, the Uilleann pipes, you need to know what you're doing. That's for sure. You do, as far as tuning for gigs, especially for gigs, like I nowadays I do an awful lot of solo gigs, right? Because I've been at it that long, I've kind of established a thing where people know, oh, there's Fred Morrison, so you'll be guaranteed a decent audience in that. So when you go there, you don't want any hassle on stage. You don't want to be tuning. You don't want messing around. You want the thing to flow really well. And for Joe Public as well as the top level pipers to just sit and get a bit of crack and enjoy it. So that's what you've got to aim at home. You've got you think of when I'm going to be in that hot room or in that cold room. These have got to be hassle free. That's what I look to do. So I put a lot of time into the Uilleann pipes, making sure everything's just completely hunky dory, so that you limit your margins of error, so that everything's just easy to go with. And they're all cane. I keep all cane in my Uilleann pipe reeds, drones, regulators, chanter, of course, and just try and keep it all really, just really so that it's hassle-free and that you can switch the drones on and everything's there, and it's like you can introduce the piece and just go for it. You know, there's nothing for me. There's nothing worse than going somebody and, you know, twinging and twanging and away for ages, and it just loses the vibe of the whole thing. And the vibe of the whole thing's what the most important thing. That's what you want. You want to go there and have a great experience. You know, Highland pipes, as I was going to say, nowadays, like for me doing gigs, you can what I would do when I'm playing at concerts particularly is get a thing that's nice and easy to blow, so that your fingers are nice and free and easy, and that you can really move them nicely. They don't have to be big and brash for Joe Public either. They can be very nice. Yeah. You want them nice and tuned, and of course with moisture control and synthetic reeds now, same as the Ellen pipes, so that you can blow them up, and of course they're going to flatten off in just a couple of wee tweaks, but off you're almost ready to go. So that there's not a lot of, you know, I think that's one of the reasons in yesteryear, and, you know, over the last, you know, century and longer, even over the last couple of centuries, that the pipes get such a bad press, you know, because people have struggled often with materials for tuning and moisture issues and things like that, and tuned, and people just think they can't get their head right. I think it often just give a bad impression of pipes, which is a shame. You know, because it's such a magical instrument, you know, and such a brilliant instrument to listen to. But now, you know, it's easier nowadays for us to do that. It's easier for us, and that's what I always would try and do in a concert, is just get them so that they're like, yeah, here's the tune.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Davie, can I ask you? It was just regarding a comment that came on there earlier on. There was for John Robertson, and he said, Fred should write a book about his stories, but I'd love to hear the Kansas City hornpipe. Am I wrong, or is that coming up later on?
That is coming up later on.
That's fantastic. So there you go, John Robertson. That's coming up in a wee while, so don't go away. Don't go watching Coronation Street or any of that rubbish.
The audience, obviously, you mentioned that you played with Capper Kelly for a couple of years.
Yeah,
that was on the back of them doing the Rob Roy soundtrack, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was round about that time. But the thing is, like, if you see Martin McLeod getting in touch there, like, I toured with Capper Kelly before that, like way back in '86 with Martin McLeod. We did the Hebridean tour, and we all knew each other. We were same kind of age group, and round about we were always playing sessions in the Oban Inn, and a lot of big parties and music things around Oban and Tinalt. There was a big scene there way back in the day. There really was. And we were always playing together, sharing tunes and all that kind of thing. So that was something that really, and we'd done different gigs, and I'd done we might do gigs where I might open the show, do the first bit, and they would come on. And I actually did the same for Runrig back in the mid-'80s as well. Did some cracking. I opened for Runrig on the ramparts of Edinburgh Castle, one of their biggest ever. That was incredible. That was a brilliant experience. You know, really just going out as a solo piper and people, you know, shaking the place. It was incredible. It was brilliant. And but myself and the Capper Kelly guys, like, really, we knew each other very well. And I remember, what was I doing? Yeah, I was working on a thing called The Big Picnic. That was a show in Glasgow in the old shipyard, and it was a huge, like, 6-month run of one of the biggest plays and biggest theatre productions about the First World War that you could imagine, written by Bill Bryden. And there was a lot of great musicians on there. There was Rod Patterson, the singer, great singer, Rod Patterson. There was Wendy Weatherby on cello, of course. Jim Prime from Deacon Blue was there. He was playing keyboards. Jim Prime. There was Taj Viskovsky was MD. Loads of great musicians. I'm leaving out people that I know very well, and they're just not coming to that. I know there was lots of great players. Mike Travis on drums, brilliant. Mike Travis, who played with me in Clanalba, but. I did that show, and it was incredible. It was really incredible. The audience were on these moving things that moved around the scene of the First World War. You know, it was absolutely, and they had laser lights for guns and all that. And actually, here's a good thing. I actually had 2 lines in the show.
Oh, there you go. An actor.
A thespian. And the thing was, the first line was this. I had to say, "Aye." That's it.
That was it.
That was my first line. I had to say aye. And I rehearsed it. I rehearsed it for hours the night before. And the second line I had to say was, I don't know. It's just a tune. That was after the Battle of the Somme. It was Ian the Piper that had written the tune, The Battle of the Somme. And it was actually one of the actors. He actually acted in Rab C. Nesbitt and in things like that. And he was really well known. And he turned to me. He turned to me in the play and he said, "It's a great tune, Ian. What are you going to call it?" And I would say, in true John Wayne fashion, I would say, "I don't know. It's just a tune." It was brilliant. And so that was my life as an actor. And just after that, it's so funny because after that finished round about Christmas, and it's very early in the new year, I did the folk festival tour in Germany straight after that. In the trio Urban Rye, myself and Davie Steele and Ailey Shaw, the fiddle player Ailey Shaw, and the great singer Davie Steele. You must have known Davie Peter. You must have.
Yeah, very well. Great guy.
He was a great guy. I mean, Davie was one of the nicest guys the music scene has ever seen.
And a phenomenal, amazing songwriter.
Amazing singer. What a voice and a performer. So we were in the trio Urban Rye, which is actually Iron Brew backwards. That's what it is. Urban Rye. And we did, straight after that was the big picnic finished. And then we went over to Germany and did 26 nights on the spin, just without a break. And on the folk festival tour, and it was in the biggest venues in Germany, like the music hall in Munich and the Berlin Philharmonic Hall and all these places. And in those days, they would have 1,200, 1,500 people, a night in these halls. And on that tour, there was myself, there was the Poozies, the group the Poozies, the Cathy Ann McPhee was doing it. There was it was a full folk festival tour, and we would go on the tour bus, and we did 26 nights on the spin. And then it was the day I got back, I went straight to this festival. It was so funny. I went straight to this festival in Ireland, which I didn't know what it was all about. It was called The Gathering, right? And I just knew I had to go to Ireland straight after it, and it was The Gathering. And I remember my mum saying, you better pack your case, you're going to Ireland tomorrow. And I was like, oh, and she said, and there's the leaflet they sent. And when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. it was the biggest names I'd ever seen in Irish music, honestly. And like every day there was Dedanan, Donal Lunny band, and it was all these things like that. There was Paddy Keenan and all these big legend names were all playing. And what they did when they got there, actually, here's a bit of crack. This is a good bit of crack for you. Because what they did was, when you got to this thing, I couldn't believe it. I was in the plane saying, oh my God, I can't believe where am I going, And I went to this thing. And what they would do with you is you and 5 or 6 other names, they would sit you on a stage in a semicircle, right? A full concert house, and you would all have to take your turn. And if that wasn't nerve-wracking for a young musician, what was? Because I remember that it was incredible because the other musicians would be in the semicircle behind you while you were performing to the audience. It was quite incredible. I remember being on a stage like Alistair Fraser was to my left, the fiddle player. Me and Ali were the Scots guys on the stage, like saying, right, I'll hodge your jacket, that kind of thing. It was like that, But here, I'll tell you, here's a bit of crack for you, right? Because when I was at The Gathering, it was the first time in those days when I was playing like with Urban Rye and all that, and I was about to join Capercaillie. The reason for that was that I had got a set of border pipes in A from Nigel Richard, right? Now, this was the first time that anybody serious was using these things. I don't mean derogatory. I mean, I don't mean serious because there's a lot of great, border lowland, but I don't mean that. I mean, but using them like in a professional way, touring and all, and using them with our kind of brand of Scottish music. And Nigel told me at the time he had 3 orders at most. 3 orders he had. And so nobody was using them. And I didn't want the pipes. I said, no, I've got enough to deal with. I've got whistles. No, he said, try them. No. And I said, I didn't want them. I'll give them to you half price. I said I don't want them. It was a bit like Del Trotter, you know. I just didn't want them. And eventually, this was before I was at this gathering thing. A package came through the post, and I opened the box up, and it was a letter, and it said, "Just try them anyway." It was Nigel. He just posted it. He said, "Just try them anyway." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I got them out of the box, and I thought, you know, these things are not bad. Few squeaks and squawks and all that at the start. But when I did the tour with Urban Rye, it sorted that out. You know, I learned how to handle them really on the tour, you know, and really that's why I was going to join Capercaillie, because we now had pipes that weren't like small pipes, quiet. They were actually accordion volume. You know, and they had the conical bore. They were an octave higher, so they had the same kind of bite and all that. This was a bit of a killer wee instrument, a bit of a pit bull of an instrument. So anyway, here I'll go back to what I was talking about. We were at the gathering, and here's a bit of crack for you, because I had been to a lot of festivals in throughout Europe and places, and I'd met Paddy Keenan often at festivals, but we were never really able to play together because I had the Highland pipes. And he was playing the uilleann pipe, so we just ended up just having the crack together and playing pool and stuff like that. So when I was at the gathering, there was this big tuning area, right, backstage, where all the musicians shared, and they could all get a chance to tune their instrument, get ready before they went on to the gig. And I saw Paddy tuning up, and I thought, this'll blow his mind. And I strapped the border pipes, right, and I went up to him and I went, "Here you go." And I played, you know, the big Bothy band number, Rip the Calico. And I went like that here. And of course, he knew that was one of his big numbers. So he lashed into it as I was lashing into it. And he stopped and he looked at me with the eyes and he went, "We're in tune." He said, "We're in tune." I said, "Yeah, we are." And he was doing the gig, right? And he said to me, he of course, he had the cowboy hat on, you know, as he always does. Obviously, Paddy with the cowboy hat on. Yeah. And he opened his uilleann pipe case up, and he had a spare cowboy hat. Right? And he lifted up the hat and he plonked it on my head. He went like that. "Here," he said, "last number I'm playing," he said, "I'll invite you out the audience. Come up," he said, "and wear that." And I said, you know, and we worked out a set of tunes. There was Rip the Calico, The Flowers of Red Hill, Bothy band numbers, right? So Paddy's playing away, and he went, and he said to the audience, "Right, now we're going to invite up Fred Morrison. For the first time ever, you're going to hear uilleann pipes and Scots pipes playing together." And I walked up, and the two of us faced each other, both with the cowboy hats on. It was like the OK Corral, you know, and they just like lashed into the Rip the Calico. Brilliant crack, you know, one of the best. I remember Karen Tweed sitting in the front row of the audience, just shaking her head, looking at me like, "What a shocker," you know. Brilliant crack. That was just one of the best experiences with the cowboy hats on. But it was actually the day after that I started playing with Capercaillie, and more or less it was just like 2 or 3 years, just full time on the road, just like all year, you know, playing in great venues all over the UK, Spain, a lot in Spain, and the Spanish festivals were raucous in those days. Brittany, of course, and a couple of US tours. It was brilliant, great, really, real learning.
When you said about Davie Steele there earlier on, and I'll never forget a night of crack that I was absolutely aching by the morning. It was after Skagen Festival one night in Denmark there, and the McAlmans were out, and we ended up sitting at this table in somebody's house. And it was Ian McCallum and Davie telling story after story after. You can imagine it. It was just like the two of them just couldn't let the other win. You know, it had to be. It was like, "I've got a better one," and it went on. And it was hilarious. It was just a brilliant.
Davie Steele was a complete crack merchant. You know, he loved the crack, and he had an immense sense of humour.
Oh,
you know, he was the nicest. Davie was about the nicest. You know, he's a great guy. He really was. It was heartbreaking when he died. It really was.
It was sad. Davie, what are we going to have next?
I'll tell you this really quickly about Davie. You know, this is really short, but I remember it was the first night Urban Rye were doing a gig, and it was in the village hall in Ballachulish, right? And Davie was doing some scene. It was like some really plaintive song, Jock o' Hazeldean or something like that. And there was, and Ailey was doing the fiddle part, and they were waiting for the whistle break to come in. Now, I really didn't realise I was doing this, but Davie was all serious and moody on stage, and I had the low whistle in my hand, and I had an itch in my back, right? And without realising, I got the low whistle, and I was done. Davie was on the stage. Davie was sitting to my right, singing this moody song, and I remember him looking at me, nearly dying off with laughter as I was looking at him. I was like, what's the problem? The three of us were in hysterics. And I just realised what I was doing. The whole audience watching me,
Buy your back scratchers here.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, sorry.
Available at GFF.
There you go.
Funny you should mention, Paddy, there. We've actually got you playing with Mike McGoldrick as part of the Track Sessions.
Yeah.
That was with Ron Block and Tim O'Brien as well, wasn't it?
No, it's Jerry Douglas.
Oh, it's Jerry Douglas.
Yeah, Jerry Douglas.
Yes. Jerry Douglas and Donal Lunny. Jerry and Donal Lunny. That was round about the time that I was getting into all that kind of Americana stuff. And I was so glad to be asked to do the Transatlantic, because I'd been really getting into that kind of music for a good bit before then. And I loved the feel of it, and loved the, just the style that they played, and also how quality of the musicianship that you hear these guys, these Nashville players, it's phenomenal. So I was right into this, and it was great to go along there and, spend a bit of time with these guys. Of course, I knew Donal and Mike for a long time. Myself and Mike had played, loads of sessions. It was before that. In fact, when we were with Capercaillie in Germany, I first met Mike. He was playing with a group called Toss the Feathers. And back in Germany, they used to do a lot of tours, and we had a right good session, and we used to meet at different gigs and always play tunes, and that was brilliant. Great crack, great guy, and but it was great just to play with Jerry and that, and see the whole thing. Really great experience, and a bit of a learning curve to see what they did. That I realised how. When I was doing the Outlands album with Tim O'Brien and Ron Block, just how much on the click that they play. It sounds very lyrical and up tempo and down, but it's ruthless on clicks. Yeah. That's when I learned that this, you really had to. It was slightly different in that way, but you learn how to kind of make it sing on top of that. At a high tempo, which is. It's quite a thing. It's quite a trick, especially playing pipes with all the ornamentation and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But great crack.
So this set starts off with your tune, Lochaber Badger.
Yeah.
And ends. I think it ends on Rip the Calico as well, doesn't it?
It starts with Leaving Uist, and then it's
Leaving Uist. Oh yes, yeah.
It's the
Leaving Uist, then the
and
Badger.
Then it's the Badger, and then it finishes with Rip the Calico. Exactly.
Magic.
There you go.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Utterly magic. Very, very good.
It's amazing the addition of the kind of steel guitar just kind of gives that bluegrass feel on its own. You know,
It does straight away, Davey. I always think that, yeah. The dobro, it's unmistakable. It just changes the mood of everything. It gives it, yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. I really love it.
The only thing about playing the dobro is finding somewhere to park your horse when you go to a gig.
He, of course, is like a phenomenal musician, Jerry Douglas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, he's world renowned. Like, even, you know, in all circles of music, he's probably one of the most high respected musicians in the US. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what came first, Fred? Was it playing that Translated Sessions, or was it the Outlands album? What came first?
Well, to be honest, I'll tell you, Davey, it's like I was saying to you before we played the track, like I'd been kind of getting into the Americana thing. You know, I'd heard like a lot of great stuff, like Alison Krauss and Union Station and these kind of things, like a lot of great players. And I always loved the 5-string banjo playing. You know, I love that, you know, when you hear them playing these up-tempo tunes that sit well when they're up-tempo. They don't, you know, I love that. I love that when they're playing like high tempos, but they sound comfortable at high tempo. They don't sound like somebody's trying dead hard and it's dead fast and noisy, and that just does my ears in. You know, it's like I'm at that stage where I just like to hear somebody expressing themselves, whether it's a song, whether it's one or two notes, I don't care. But that kind of people trying to ram something into my head to show how good they are, I'm not interested. And that's what I liked about the 5-string banjo thing, because it sounds dead comfortable at those tempos. I really like that. Yeah. So I was kind of getting into that, and then I did the transatlantic thing. That was just by the by. That just happened to come up. You know, somebody said, "Come on and do this," but I'd had my eye on the Americana thing, and at that time I started playing with young Matthew Watson, and Matthew is, you know, just a phenomenal musician. You know, I don't think anybody would realise just the extent of the guy's musicianship. It's absolutely incredible. I think his last album, he played something like 27. He played 27 instruments on it. You know, you know, and not just, you know, and it's not like he's having a go. They're all brilliant, you know. But listening to Matthew finger picking on a guitar is, you know, phenomenal. Flat picking, you know, and all that. It's really, really phenomenal. And his knowledge of like harmony and time signatures and things, you know, I very rarely come across anybody with. He just sees it's just all there. So I started playing with young Matthew, and he was only 16 at the time, but he was very, very well up on all that, and he would get great recordings of guys like Sam Bush, Bella Fleck, you know, people like that, and we would listen to loads and loads of different recordings, and then start to think that's when the Outlands, that's what really led to the Outlands CD. And I'd heard Tim O'Brien singing on that same program that you've just played the track from. Tim O'Brien plays a song there, Look Down That Lonesome Road. I would recommend it to anybody that's listening. If you look up YouTube and look Tim O'Brien singing Look Down That Lonesome Road on Transatlantic Sessions, it's absolutely outstanding. It's a kind of driving country song, and it is so cool. And I heard him and I thought, that guy is incredible. And I'd heard Ron Block playing, of course, with Union Station, with Alison Krauss, and I thought, you know, it's the most precise, like professionally delivered 5-string banjo, and, you know, just beautiful playing. So I got in touch with Tim and Ron, and they both said that they were up for it. And, you know, it was really quite a, you know, that was really brilliant. That was like quite a big thing, you know, to get guys like that on board, and they're going to play with this piper that they don't know, you know, this, like, you know, Harry Heelander, you know, there's like, you know, and it was a kind of joint venture with Ridge Records, Run Rig's label, Ridge Records, and they had, myself and the guys had decided to contract, you know, like really professional people in Gary Pachosa. Gary Pachosa mixed the CD, and Gary Pachosa does Alison Krause's stuff, Union Station, and a lot of the big Nashville. He's probably one of the biggest name producers in Nashville, which is really, it's really brilliant to have him involved. And so we got Gary Pachosa mixing this stuff, and we myself and Jimmy Nielsen was the engineer in Glasgow. Great guy, Jimmy. And he was new to the game then, but his ears were phenomenal and very, very thorough and amazing with Pro Tools and all that kind of thing. And Jimmy did a great job of recording it, and we would fire it over, and the guys would put their tracks down, and it was so exciting waiting for it all coming back. It really was, because we at the time I didn't know what was going to happen. I really didn't. I didn't know what it was going to sound like, and that's when I learned the way that they played. They would get back and talk about the click and talk about really fast tempos and things like that, and we both lean to each other's style. I mean, I remember the hard drive, doing the hard drive track, and that's where it got its name. I remember the night before I recorded the hard drive, I had no sleep. One of those nights, you got a big day in the studio, and it's like I better get a good night's sleep, and because you're dying to sleep and be ready for it, you can't sleep. It was one of those. I was up all night, and I remember parking the car and walking along towards George Square to the studio in Glasgow, and when you've got no sleep, I was really feeling the cold and thinking, oh God, what am I going to do today? This is murder. All the rest of it was a Friday, but that was the day that I recorded the hard drive track, and it all went down in a oneer. The way it is on the album is just like a block that was done as it was, and so I was really chuffed with this, and Jimmy had given me a wee recording to take home, and I was listening to it and I was thinking, this could be good. And it was later that day, Jimmy said to me, Jimmy Nielsen got in touch with me, and he said, I've got bad news for you. And I said, what's that? And he said, the hard drive's crashed. We've lost the recordings. And I was like, now, I'll tell you, man, I am the least techie person on the planet, honestly. I really am. I honestly, if I could plug a computer in at the wall, that's the end of it. That is the end of the story, So he said, the hard drive's crashed. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, we'll have to see, but there's a possibility that we've lost all the... And I was like, oh, no, I don't have to go through all this again, But it was the Monday or the Tuesday he got back, and he had been in touch, and he said, it's okay, everything's saved, we're okay. And that's where the tune got the name, The Hard Drive. Yeah, that's where it came from, because I'd recorded that tune.
Right.
It's so funny because...
I thought it was because you were a computer genius and you liked studying manuals or something.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, Peter. But I remember at the time, thinking I wanted to finish the album off with something really bluegrassy, but I realised that you had to play 138, 140, 142 BPM. Now, I was never into things like that. To me, you just played the tune the way it felt. That if it feels right, that's it, or lift the tempo, okay. But I realised that these guys, this is the kind of tempos. So I actually got the click up and said, right, I better write a tune. And I started working, trying to find a tune that sat at that, and came up with a hard drive.
Right.
We worked it just from ground zero during the album, just from absolutely from zero. Got a click track up at 138 BPM, started thinking of an idea and came up with the tune just noodling away at it. Came up with the hard drive and recorded that take that I just told you about. And we sent it over to Tim O'Brien, and he recorded his parts in a studio called the Butcher's Shop that Johnny Cash used to record in. It's so cool. I loved all this. He was I'm going to record the Butcher's Shop, Johnny Cash used to, I'd say, oh, brilliant, this is so cool.
That'll do.
Yeah. And I remember one real late night, we were just wrapping up, me and Jimmy Nielsen in Glasgow, and Jimmy, I was just so tired and I was getting my stuff, and Jimmy came back and he was holding a wee memory stick, and he went, this has just come back from the Butcher's Shop. And I was like, oh, and it was the hard drive, which I'd worked from the start with a click track and put them, and he put it up, and Tim had layered bluegrass fiddle and guitar and chopping mandolin on it. He'd learned 3 instruments on it for me, and he came back, and see, when I heard it, I was like, God, it's great, well done, Tim. I loved it, And I remember thinking, it was one of the only time, I think probably the only time in my life I thought, I'm really chuffed with that, from working it from zero and firing it over and hearing all the parts coming back. And it was a late night, and I remember thinking, brilliant, nice one. And we had Martin O'Neill put his Baran part, and Ron Block put his 5-string banjo on it, and that was the end of that,
Well, if anybody can play up at these tempos, it's certainly you, anyway, that's for sure.
I like it. I liked it. The high tempos work, as I say, if it sits very comfortably. If you can sit and it sounds like you're shelling peas, but if somebody's pushing and it's frantic, then it's just kind of, please turn it down, turn it off. It's like that. But it can just sit really nice and vibey right to the end. It's like, nice one. That's it. That's when it works well.
Well, let's have a listen to the hard drive.
Sounds good to me. We've done a good. That's worked out well. That was almost rehearsed, the way Fred brought that up there.
Peter,
is that us at the end of it? Is that us finishing up there? Is that no?
No.
Unless you're in a hurry.
Oh, the hard drive thing. I see what you meant. I didn't.
So here we go. Here's a live version of the hard drive with Matthew and Martin.
Good stuff.
Brilliant. Never get tired of that.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I love the way you just turn round and give poor Matthew that little look as he notch it up just that wee bit further. The poor guy, electrums are burning out and things.
I mean, Matthew and Martin O'Neill as well. I mean, they're incredible players, both of them. They really are. I mean, Martin O'Neill is just something else. You see him in the studio working, he'll do, like half a dozen takes of different styles and say, use whichever one you want, and it's all the back. There's a Martin O'Neill. He's honestly one of the most phenomenal musicians I've ever worked with as well. The two of them are incredible, brilliant. Mm-hmm. Great guys to work with, great laugh as well,
So you also do a bit of teaching as well, Fred, at various kind of winter schools and summer schools across the world.
Yeah.
How's that kind of changed for you, obviously, over the past kind of 18 months? Are you still getting to teach, or is that kind of been put in the back burner?
Yeah, I mean, teaching is something that I didn't really do a lot of, but I did. I used to the only thing I used to really do was the week before the Lorient Festival, as I mentioned earlier. That's in Ploumeur, which is like a mile outside of Lorient, and it's immediately leading up to the festival weekend, the 5 days up to the Friday, and the festival starts on the Friday. And it would be great to be over, especially if you were doing the competition, and it would give you a chance to acclimatise and get your pipes in and get and practice over. That was great. That was great. But competition or not, it's a great event. So I used to do that, and I didn't do very many more until Winter Storm. The Winter Storm people asked me to go over, and I thought, great. That's great, because I'd heard a lot about Winter Storm and, and being over in Kansas and all that. And it sounded great. So that was the first kind of school that I did in the States, which is only like a long weekend event, but it's great crack. A lot of great people go over there, a lot of great pipers. Myself and Paul, I used to travel over from Glasgow, and usually in New York we would meet Colin McClellan and some of the other guys from the East Coast, and then we would all take the flight out to Kansas. There was usually about, you could be anything for a dozen like really good pipers on the Kansas flight from New York. It was brilliant fun, and that's a great event. It really is. You get some top class piping event competitions as well there. They've got the gold medal event there, and all from amateurs right up to seriously, top professional players. And then they've got a great event, a great concert event on the Saturday night that's usually jam packed with a great atmosphere, and it's usually live streamed, and the teaching as well. I love Winter Storm. It's really, really cool. I love going to Kansas. And that, of course.
Can I ask, Fred, with your upbringing, when you spoke about the Cantorach, so for all our viewers out there, Cantorach, teaching by singing, basically. Singing the tune to people. Have you found yourself passing it on that way as well, then, Cantorach style, if you're maybe tutoring or something like that?
I do try and get that approach to teaching if I can, that kind of expressive approach, and try and sing tunes to people and get them to. I mean, really, the written music and pipe music to me is a guide. Really, it really is a guide. And to say that's to be really ruthlessly, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And to stick to one setting as a composer, to think that's it. I'm never going to play. It's not going to happen.
Well, it'd just be a robot, wouldn't it? It would just be robotic.
Yeah. It would just be... So the answer to your question, Peter, is yes. I would do that, but. It's not. Yeah, I do that, and that, of course, that's what the person that was asking about. That was the first Kansas City event that I did. That's when that event that happening. The person was asking about. That's when myself and Willie McCallum and Angus McCall, we were all picked up from the hotel, and we were taken to the airport, and it was snowing. There was a snowstorm, and. The flights were all delayed, and we were stranded at Newark Airport, and we were put up in this kind of dodgy airport hotel. It was called the Howard Johnson. And I remember, Angus McCall will remember this, and I'm sure he does, but when we were leaving the reception, I remember Angus saying to me, honestly, I'm deadly serious, he said to me, I don't like the vibe of this place at all. I remember him saying that. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know what it is, but he's right, neither do I. I remember thinking, I agree. And that's when we went up in the lift. And I remember it was the doors opened and there was a shiny Coca-Cola machine there. And Angus looked at it and he looked at me and he said, I wouldn't fancy coming down for a Coke at 3 a.m. I remember going to bed really spooked. I was thinking, whoa, I was going to better lock my door. So
lock up your cane drone reads.
Aye. But I got to the hotel, and the next thing I knew, I was coming down to breakfast, and Angus and Willie were sitting there. And Angus, I said, how are you doing? Where's the coffee? Whatever, And Angus said to Willie, you better tell him what happened last night. And I was like, oh, all right, what was the crack? I was thinking the two of them might have got up and gone for a beer or something, whatever. And Willie said, you won't believe this. He said, but in the middle of the night, he said, somebody was started banging on my door. And I was thinking, oh no, the creepy hotel. I was thinking of The Shining, Somebody was banging on my door, he said, and he looked through the wee spy hole and he saw that the guy was banging on all the doors on the floor of the hotel. So he figured it must be safe enough, must be okay. So he opened the door and the guy said to Willie, he ushered him into the room opposite. He went, come here, come in here. He said, you've got to help me. And Willie went in and there's I've got to just get round this bit. This bit is very sinister. He said he went in there and there was a woman lying on the bed and she was stone dead. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. And Willie was like, oh my God, what on earth are we going to do? So Willie kind of consoled the guy, calmed him down and phoned the services and all the rest of it. Did a better job, I think, than me and Angus would have done, that's for sure. But then, and he was telling, and I was I couldn't believe what he was telling me. And just at that moment, the doors to the hotel burst open and in came this crew with police and people in forensic suits and all this kind of thing. They came charging in like something, honestly, out of a Hollywood movie. I'm not kidding. Led by this guy, with a badge up and the gun on and the baseball cap, and all these people in the forensic suits and cameras. And this is the truth. And he's looking over. He's going, "Get me some coffee, man." He's like, "I'm a cop," And he sees us there, and he went, "Who are you boys? Don't you move." He said, "I'm going to have to talk to you boys. Talk to you." And I'm thinking, talk to us? What does he want to talk to us for? We're just a bunch of Jupiter Pipers, honestly. And he came over and he was saying, he said, "Can I come over here, you guys? I need to speak to you." And I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to get the jail or something here. And he said, what are you doing? You boys passing through town? That's the expression. I remember him distinctly saying that. Are you boys passing through town? And I said to him, look, we're actually bagpipers. We're pipers from Scotland. We were at a festival in Kansas. We were snowed in and we're going to fly out today. And he went, "You're what?" And I said, "We're pipers." And he kind of freaked out a bit and he got his phone out. And it turns out the guy was a fanatical bagpipe player, right? he was Sergeant Matty Glacken from the NYPD, right? He was a cop, but he was mad on the pipes. And he says, "Wait a minute." And he phones his boss, who ran the NYPD pipe band, right? And he said, "I've got some pipers here from Scotland, man. This is great." Completely. And he says to Willie, "What's your name?" Willie says, "Willie McCallum." And he went, "Oh my God, I got Willie McCallum here." He's telling his boss. And he's saying to Angus, he says to Angus, "What's your name?" He says, "Angus McCall." "Oh my God, I got Angus McCall here." He said, "What's your?" And I said, "It's Fred Morrison." He went, my boss, he knows you. He's been at your concerts, man. He knows you. And I was like, great. I was thinking, great, maybe he'll drop the charges. Then he had a brainwave. The guy had a brainwave. He saw one of the guys in the forensic suits with a camera, and he said to him, "Here, you," he said, "come over here and get a picture of me with the boys here." We were lined up against the wall there with the cop, standing there like a bunch of 2-4 marches. And
all this time, the dead body's lying upstairs.
Well, the whole thing's gone on, and he got a picture. He got loads of pictures with us. And Angus, I remember Angus saying to me, "Can you imagine the photos, the crime scene photos down at the lab when they come out? There'll be all these gory scenes, and then we'll be standing there."
Oh, fantastic.
And I said to him, then I said to him, "Are you here about the woman who died last night?" And he went, "Oh no, I heard about that. Bad scene, bad scene." He said, No, there was a homicide in the hotel last night. Blood everywhere, he said. That's what he said. God, I was thinking Angus was right. It was incredible. And then he took us, he said, "I'll take you down to see the sights in New York." And he took us down in the cop car. And I remember us, like me and Angus were in the back, Willie was in the front, and we were passing the Bronx. We were going by the Bronx, and we're in a traffic jam. And as quick as a flash, no problem, he takes out the police light, like Starsky and Hutch, puts it on the roof, siren on, wow, the cars are parked like the Dead Sea, and he goes, foot to the floor, whoosh, good flight. And I remember Angus turning to me saying, "God knows what's going to happen now." But that's your story about the Kansas City hornpipe. That's, it was just one of the craziest piping stories that you could ever imagine,
Davie, see that trip we were planning to Winter Storm? I think we might give it a miss.
Yeah.
Winter Storm is incredible. And they have it in the big country club hotel, and it's so plush, and they have the winter steam party on the Saturday all night. There's people playing pipes and drums in all corners of the hotel. It's brilliant. They just take over. It's fantastic. But then, of course, the other main teaching event that I do the three. I do the Brittany thing, Winter Storm, and then I do Winter School in Seattle. That's at the beginning of February, and that's a phenomenal event. That's run by an amazing guy, a really amazing guy called Skye Richendiffer. Skye as in the island of Skye with an E. And Skye he's just run an incredible event there. He runs, I think there's a really good bunch of tutors go out there. There's myself, Roddy, Willie, Stuart Liddell, Angus, Murray Henderson, Brian Donaldson, Bruce Gandy, Jack Lee. I'm probably leaving people out. Callum Bowman. We all go out every year. That's usually the same team that go out every year. And they have a small pipe course, and they have a fiddle course, and they have a Highland pipe solo thing. And they have a huge concert in the Benaroya Hall in Seattle, which is an amazing concert hall to play in. And it's about a 2,000-seater, and we have a great concert there. And he's done so much fundraising. He's got his own Celtic Arts Centre, a bit like the Piping Centre in Mount Vernon outside Seattle, and he runs concerts and events. Mm-hmm. I do an October school there as well for small pipes. Just brilliant. It's brilliant altogether. And
we've actually got a recording. I think this is from this year's Winter School, the pre-recorded one of the Angel's Lair. I mean, it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Playing whistle, yeah.
That'll be at
the Angel's Lair.
That'll be at the Celtic Arts Centre. Yeah, I do a concert there every October, and it's about 160, 200 seater, and it's usually full with a lot of people that I know. Great atmosphere, just brilliant fun. Great place. Every year I do that. Love it. I just love it.
Let's have a listen to that, Davie, because
fire away.
Yeah, it's good.
Here we go.
Fantastic.
Stunning sound.
That's the Celtic Arts Centre, which the Littlefield, it's called the Littlefield Centre. Guy Ed Littlefield, who's a great he's a guy who's into pipes and into Americana, but a kind of wealthy guy. But he's did most of the sponsorship for that just by donating money, and he's got an amazing big studio out there that he's had like Dolly Parton and people recording in. Really, like, he's one of the most amazing studios in the States. But they actually did a DVD of the Benaroya concert with all the pipers that I mentioned in Ed's studio as well. So it's it's amazing to see all these things going on around the world, and promoting our music and people that love it, and it's just brilliant. And it is. It's really great. But Davie, I have managed to keep up a couple of schools online during the lockdown. Just like the winter school, Sky keeps that going, and I've done a few workshops like that, just online teach. It's not the same, but it works, and people benefit from it, which is good, And I mean, the pandemic thing's been just murder for music and for bagpipes and for things like that. It's just like the worst thing,
I mean, I tutor Fred. I tutor accordion in the schools in Shetland. I mean, that's my job. So we were online for so long there, and it's exactly as you say. It's not the same, but at least we have had something. That is one thing. Because it would have been a long 2 years without.
Oh my God, yes, it would. And you can keep it going, and people, as I say, people benefit from it,
And of course, it suits some instruments better than other instruments. It's easier to teach some instruments. Like, say, the piano or the accordion's not bad because they pick it up and they play it. But if you've got an instrument you have to tune or something like that, a fiddle or something, it's hard,
And if people play the pipes, often the volume can just mute the thing. It's quite often it cuts out and stuff like that.
Condenses it, it's it's really hard, So, But we were wondering, have you got any projects planned now for the future? Then have you got anything in the pipeline?
Well, I do. I mean, I've been meaning to do an album
for
so long. I've got loads and loads of new material that hasn't been recorded, and it just seemed to be taking forever to do. And you'd think like during lockdown was ideal, but it isn't, because so that's what I want to do next year. I want to record a new album. I'd like to do the same kind of thing as I did with the Outlands. I'd like to do something like that again. And I've got, as I say, I've got a lot of material which is well played in, and it should be doable, And
I think it will be doable. I think it will be doable.
Yeah.
And if it's as popular as that last album, my goodness, she was.
Well, hopefully that's nice of you to say, but I hope people enjoy. I mean, that's the thing. You just want you just want to share your music and hope that, and people to enjoy it. I think that's the thing,
Well, that's what Don Scobie says. Yes, please, Fred, get on with that album.
I'll do that, Don. I will, if I can at all. I really will. As I say,
Willie Morrison says, "Are you heading to Canada anytime in the future, Fred?"
Well, the thing is, the Canada thing is such a shame because I had a great tour in Canada. It was amazing because I did a tour in Canada just maybe a year or 2 years before the lockdown, and I did it, believe it or not, in February, and that is incredible because it started in Toronto and it went right across Canada in February. I mean, that's like Winnipeg. I mean, that is cold, man. That is seriously cold. And but it was absolutely brilliant. I loved the whole experience. And again, it's like most places, it's like everywhere you go, people treat you so well and welcome you and all that. And started with Big Gordon Black organising a great event in Toronto, and then the Winnipeg Police put on a great show. I mean, it was just brilliant. And then Ian McDonald in Saskatchewan, and loads of different people, Jackie Troy, loads of people put on such great events throughout the whole thing. And but the snow it was just so cool. It was just so brilliant to experience the whole thing. I remember walking out the airport in Winnipeg, and the doors opened and the blast, and the guy said, "Welcome to Winnipeg." I mean, it's just so atmospheric at night in the hotel, all the snow, and it was just fantastic. And then the disappointing thing was that lockdown. I just got back from the winter school that I've just spoken about in Seattle, and of course, Seattle was probably the hotbed of the coronavirus at the start. That's where it was really raging. And we just got back from the Seattle thing, and more or less pretty soon, a week or two after that, that was the first lockdown. Now, at that point, I was scheduled to do a very big tour in Canada in May. There was an agent there, Scott Long, and he'd done an amazing job and on the Toronto side, and then we'd coordinated the other side. So it was all, and he was actually emailing and saying, 6 weeks before, these gigs are almost sold out already. And the whole thing was great. The whole tour was cancelled in that May. And we said, okay, then can we slot it in for next May? Okay. And then, of course, the next May, still lockdown, So, and we're well past that now. And now you're looking at next May and you're thinking, I don't know. I just don't know if this is.
I know.
Yeah.
So
it's just like absolutely everything's a plan B, isn't it? It's just like it's just.
It's such a shame, because it's like Willie Morrison there's asking. I'd go tomorrow, and as I say, we had a great tour organised. It's, just hopefully we can, get everything up and running as soon as possible.
Yeah.
A little birdie tells me.
Yeah, Donald McPhee. There's Donald McPhee saying we were robbed last night, David.
I agree. And so a little birdie tells me you've got a new project with McCallum's.
Oh. Myself and McCallum's have always got projects. I mean,
the one that you've been working on for a while to get just right.
I guess we're talking pipes.
We're talking pipes.
Are we talking Highland pipes here?
We're talking Highland pipes. Yes.
Yeah, that is true. We were hoping to at some point in the new year. Like I've got
this image of you designing in some new mousetrap or something. That's true. I've actually got my own version of the Highland pipes, hoping to get them on out in the new year. The McCallum guys are great. Kenny and Stuart have always been absolutely fantastic. They're just so good at what they do, and I love the whole thing there. The new Uillinn pipes has been an amazing project, and we've been absolutely flat out with it since the lockdown, since the workshop opened. It's just non-stop Uillinn pipes, working with them, full sets, practice sets, half sets, and the quality of them. I think is like really good. I'm really pleased with them. They're very air efficient, easy to play, well tuned, and we work at them non-stop. But that's been brilliant. But I have had some ideas on Highland pipes, and hopefully that'll be well received and people will enjoy it. I don't see why not. It's a great team, as I say. Kenny and Stuart and all the guys at McCallum's, they're fantastic. Great company, they really are.
Yeah, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing, and they've got the kind of the engineering experience as well to get things done.
They do. And the biggest thing with them is see speaking to them. When you're doing things and dealing with customers, they just want to do their very best for people. That's the kind of behind the scenes talk all the time. Like, right, let's get this right from. Let's do this. Let's make sure the product's all. Honestly, they're so good that way. They are, and the services they do and the favors they do, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
So, new album, new pipes. You've got 5 albums available on your website. You've got 3 music books available on your website. And, I think that's about it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Some pipes as well.
Yeah, and the mousetrap and the new mousetrap. The new
mousetrap.
Of course, we've talked about a compendium tune book, Davie, as
yes.
with kind of maybe with some of the stories about tunes and that kind of thing printed out. But I mean, there's a lot to be getting on with,
I know. Life gets in the way.
Be good though.
Fred,
It'd be great if you could.
It's been fantastic to have you on tonight. We're actually going to finish off with a track, but before we just say thanks again before you go.
Thank you, guys. I loved it.
Yeah, is this track back to There's Been a Murder?
That's right.
This is the murder track.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, but that's been the quickest 2 hours I've ever spent. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
So, Fred, it's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
So relaxed, so nice to speak to you. So enjoyed it.
Great. You too, Peter. Thanks, Davie.
Wish you all the very best and safety for the future. That's all we can do. And I'm sure we'll see you somewhere. We'll catch you somewhere.
Thanks again, guys.
All the best, Fred.
Cheers, man. You're a star.
And he walks off in his usual fashion. Brilliant.
What a guy. Absolutely fantastic.
So, here we have Fred Morrison doing the Kansas City Hornpipe.
Fantastic. Somebody wanted it before. Oh, it's just fantastic, isn't it? It's utterly brilliant. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us the whole night. I've never seen numbers like this staying for over a 2-hour show tonight. But
Yeah, been great.
When you bring class like Fred in, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
Amazing musician, amazing storyteller, just great. Genuine, good guy. Good guy. Just brilliant. Fantastic. Well, I noticed somebody said it's the first time they've watched the show there and just really enjoyed it.
It's always good.
So please remember, folks, we're on every Sunday night on Tartan Tunes. The first of every month we're in Music from Scotland, but the rest of the time you can get us on Tartan Tunes page on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter every Sunday night, and we'll have different guests on for you all the time. Next week we've got 2 guests on. It's a kind of East Coast thing going on for Scotland next week. We've got Ian Cruikshank, the 3-row button box player, on. It's going to be a really nice, interesting chat with Ian because Ian's been playing for many years, but used to play with Rob Gordon's band and all these people. And we've got Scott Gardner on. Scott, the famous East Coast singer, bothy ballads and all that kind of stuff. So a bit of variation for you next week as well. And there's Davie put up the wee screen. Who's on for the rest of December? Brianna Wilson and Paul Brown on the 19th. And we're going to do a Boxing Day special. And we have lots and lots of special one-off tracks that some of our most popular guests over the last year and a half that we've had going, they're sending us stuff in. It's going to be just a hoot. It's going to be a great bit of fun. And we'll have I'm sure, I'm just going to wait for it. It's going to be great fun. So I'm still getting caught. There's comments galore coming in here. Listen, folks out there, thank you so much. I hope you can join us next Sunday night and the Sunday night after and the Sunday night after that. And thanks to Donald McPhee for sticking up for Tartan Tunes. Thank you so much to everybody that voted for us in the Trad Awards.
Yes.
We really do appreciate it. But as I said before, Davie and I actually get an award every week with the amount of people that join in this show. And that's you guys out there. And that'll do for us. And we're great pals and we have a great laugh about it as well. So, cool. Anything else, Davie?
I'm going to try something new. If anyone wants the sheet music to the first 2 tunes that Peter played that I wrote, they are now available on my website.
Oh, good man.
But come on, Peter.
Sorry, take that off. There you go. Sorry.
Put it there. And you can get them there and download them and play them away.
You're a good lad. So that's the one you wrote for Fred. That's Fred Morrison of Bishopton.
Fred Morrison of Bishopton and Tay Park House. 260.
And Tay Park House was where you got married.
It was, yes.
So
that was the last time I seen Fred.
Before tonight,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's been an awesome night. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. From Tartan Tunes, from myself and Davie, take care and we'll hopefully see you next Sunday. Hope you can join us. Take care.
All the best.